Hello and welcome back to my channel, Tommy Daniels again. Thank you so much for pressing play and thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new, please click on the subscribe button, and even if you're not new but you've not subscribed, please do that now, and also click on the notification bell so that you can get a notification anytime I post a video, which at the moment is every week, and I've been pretty consistent, so I think I deserve to subscribe. Yeah, anyway, before I get into today's video, I realized that my last video, which is the property series, by the way, have you seen the property series? Have you seen any of the videos? So I've been doing a property series video. I've got 3 videos on that playlist at the moment. You should definitely check it out. My last week's video as well was also on property, and I pretty much showed the complete renovation of our first property from start to bottom. So I definitely recommend you checking it out, and I give some pretty, I basically showed step by step what we did and when we did it, but it's really helpful. And just check out all the property series videos and let me know what you think about it. I'll be doing a Q&A on it. On my next video in the property series will be a Q&A, so watch out for that and ask your questions on the comments of any of the property series video, and I'll definitely see them and get to those questions. Okay, now to today's video. I'm going to be talking about how I knew it was not the one. How I knew it was not the one. And this is kind of going to be story time-ish, but then also kind of touching on very important points in the story, and I'll basically let you know and things I would like you to focus on. And I think this is primarily going to be for those that are not yet married, but if you're married as well, I'm sure that you can probably pick up 1 or 2 things, or you can also share with your single friends. Okay, let's get into the video. So I'm basically going to this story, or how I knew it was not the one, is basically focused on someone that I was in talking stages with at some point before I got married. So this was someone that I met in church. He wasn't attending my church. I don't think this person is going to watch the video, but if he does, okay. Anyway, I met this person when he came to my church for something. He doesn't attend my church, but he was visiting a family friend, and that was how we met. And at the time I can't remember how old I was, but I don't know if it was that far. It was 20, yeah, it was about 6 years ago actually. So we exchanged numbers, and at that time I was the leader, or I was in charge of the singles ministry in the church, or the youth ministry, singles primarily in the church. And we're having I think this was around Valentine's of that year, and we're having a Valentine's program coming up, so I was quite out there with inviting people. And it was just a young man, and the person he was visiting was my very good friend. So I told her, I think I invited him as well, and I think we exchanged numbers. I think he was going to come. I don't know if he had paid that night. I don't remember. Anyway, that was how we got talking. The person that he was visiting, or who was his family friend, or the family he was visiting was his family friend, she pretty much, I think she kind of wanted us to get along, but she was just kind of not being openly, wasn't openly matchmaking, but just kind of putting us in the same environment in case we clicked, which was nice, very nice of her. Anyway, we got talking, and initially my first reaction was I wasn't particularly initially physically attracted to him, but that was fine because I was okay, it's okay, it's not everyone that I don't particularly think that you need to be physically attracted to your spouse the first day you meet them. For some people it happens instantly, for some people they grow on you as time goes on, and I don't think that one is fine. Anyway, so I wasn't particularly instantly attracted to him, but for me it was okay, it's a Christian guy. Well, by the looks of it, it was a Christian guy. Nothing basically nothing missing, nothing broken. Why not? And so we got talking. Eventually he invited me out on a date. Now, before we got to this point, there were some things that I didn't like about him, but it wasn't so much about for me, it wasn't, I felt they weren't deal breakers. There were things that maybe they could be changed. For instance, I was oh, you might think this is petty, but one of the things was I didn't like the way he when he typed, he never used punctuations, and it made it really difficult to read the messages. I'm just going to be brutally honest, but it made it difficult to read the message. Like sometimes, like punctuation was actually quite important, and then sometimes it would use some abbreviations or slang that was like a bit. I was like, okay, like I'll have to read the messages like over again, or made like some grammatical errors, so it made it difficult to read, and I didn't particularly like that. But I was like, it's not a big deal. Like it's just those are things that you can change this around. So I was like, okay. Anyway, went on the first date. It was went to see a movie. Bear in mind, he asked me out to this movie. So I was like, okay, cool, yeah, let's hang out. At the time, I was actually doing my master's. So we met up somewhere in London and we went to cinema. And then when we got there, when it was time to pay, I'm a firm believer on the guy paying. We're not going Dutch. Like, I don't believe in that. Like, particularly if you ask the lady out, like, I feel like, I wasn't asking you that, can we go see a movie? You decided to ask me that, would you like to go see a movie? And I obliged you. So, it wasn't like something I brought up. Anyway, when it was time to pay, I always like kind of used to have at the back of my mind that guys pay. Like, it's not, I didn't even think it was a thing. But in order not to come across as just, I don't know, not to come across as someone that, not to be seen as not even making an attempt. I just attempted to bring out my purse as I was going to pay. So when he paused as well, and I think maybe when he saw I was bringing out my purse, and I didn't see that he was really making any moves. So it was not like, oh, you know what, okay, let me pay for this, and then you pay for the food. And in my head, I was like, what? Like, you asked me out here and you're asking me to pay for food. I wasn't too pleased about it, but I was like, okay, cool. Eventually, I think he ended up paying for pretty much everything. Maybe the only thing I paid for was my ice cream. But the fact that he even asked me to pay for, like, basically, he asked for us to go Dutch, I wasn't pleased about it. I was like, okay, cool. Other red flags that came up, I realized that it wasn't a gentleman. And prior to this time, backtrack. The reason why I actually decided to say the story was I was sharing on my Instagram a few days ago, like about some points about like marriage and how sometimes we'll think God is speaking to us, but the fruits that we're seeing, God is speaking to us about a person, saying this person is your husband or your wife, but the fruits that we're seeing are like opposite to the word of God, and we sometimes still want to go ahead. But anyway, I'll get to that in a bit. But that was what prompted this story. I was just sharing that story on my Instagram last week. If you've not followed me on Instagram, please follow me on Instagram. I'll leave my details in the description box. Anyway, back to the story. Some of the other things that I noticed, I realized it wasn't so much of a gentleman. And prior to this time, I never, like, if I was ever making a list of what I would like in a future husband, not that I made a list anyway, but if I was, I wouldn't have put being a gentleman on it because I thought it was normal. Like, my dad, the men I'd seen around me, they were gentlemen. So I didn't think it was a thing. I didn't think it was, I felt like, all the ladies first stuff, like it's normal, like that. Not so, not really. So this guy, like we were trying to get on the escalator. And both of us were pretty much, it was like, both of us were rushing to get on it. Like, he didn't step back for me to go on. I wasn't rushing, but I was just thinking that, you're walking and thinking, oh, you'll step back at some point. It didn't. And I was like, it didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice. Then with the all, like, splitting the bill thing, I was like, okay. Then I think we also, the cinema was in a mall, by the way. So we're just checking, I think maybe before our movie or after. So we're checking out, like, what's it called? We're checking out like a store, and I think he was looking at a jumper or a cardigan or something. And then he was looking at a cardigan, and then sorry, I was a little bit distracted there. But yeah, he was looking at a cardigan, and then I decided that he said something about like the price of the cardigan. I think it was like 50 something pounds, and he made it seem like it's something that is so far-fetched and you can't buy this. Now, I'm not materialistic by any standard, but I just thought, okay, you can't afford it now, that's fine, because I think it basically had just started a new career or something, and it was like 4 years older than me, by the way, but it just started a new job or something. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But if you're thinking that you can't afford it, that's okay. But for you to think that something like 50 something pounds is completely out of your reach for years to come, if you're thinking that it's something that you'll not be able to buy like many years from now, I thought that was a red flag. And I'm not materialistic, and it's not like, but I'm aspiring, like, I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy the good things of life. But I just thought, for me, it was just a mentality thing. And I thought, like, if your mentality is so different from mine in that regard, then I was like, okay. But I was like, okay, this can change, Well, growing, all learning. We kept on talking. Then I think eventually he asked me out on a second date later on. So I was like, okay, let's go. And I think at this time, by the way, the family friend that which is also like my she was my really really close friend. I think I told her about it. And I think they tried to kind of say, like, telling the things, like, basically about the splitting bill stuff. But they didn't basically want to make it, just say outrightly. They didn't want him to know basically we had a conversation outrightly, but I think they kind of tried to in here and there, like, some of the things, feedback I had given. So I was expecting better, and I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be better this time around. I was wrong. So we went out again. Somewhere in London. And this time around, when the bill came, he was like, he hesitated a bit again, and then later he was like, you know what, I'll pay. In my head, I'm like, you asked me all this thing again. Like, why are we having this conversation? I thought, like, you had changed. Like, something would be different by now. But he was like, oh, he said, you know what, I'll pay. And then he eventually paid. But I just didn't like the fact that he hesitated. And when he said he'll pay, I was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. And he paid. Then at that point, I think I was kind of like over it a bit. So I was just like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. Like, I don't have any attraction to this person. Okay, so at some point, like, we went into the conversation of he likes me, blah, blah. I didn't say it back as far as I remember because I didn't feel the same way. But we kept on talking. And I think the thing that really helped me was I was thinking, like, this one is a Christian guy. Like, the other guys that I kind of had around me at the time were people that liked me, but I didn't like. So there was no one I liked or liked enough to even consider dating, even the ones that were Christians. So it was kind of like, this is the only one that is even seeming like it, so should I just hold on to this one egg even though it's seeming lifeless? Apologies please in case person is watching the video, but it was kind of like I was just like trying to make myself like this person. And then finally, by the way, this spanned like, since I met him like in 2014, so this spanned till like 2016, but we would like talk on and off, not all the time. So finally, I think he came back again at one time in 2016, towards the end of 2016, and we're talking again, and I think it was around my birthday, so he decided to, I don't know, maybe I even insinuated it a bit, I can't remember, I'm being honest, but I think he insinuated like, I insinuated, basically taking me out for my birthday. So I was like, fine. So this time around, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it my all. Like, I'm literally gonna put my best foot forward. It's been like over 2 years since we've been talking. He's obviously grown a bit in some areas. So I'm just like, okay, it was kind of like, this is the last try. I'm gonna try it. And we're going out. At this time, initially when we'd met, like, he wasn't driving, or maybe he didn't have a car or something, but this time he had a car, and he nicely came to pick me up. So I was like, okay, like, that's even better. Like, it was a Sunday night, it was really nice. Came to pick me up. I didn't live in London, so he came to pick me up, and where we were going was like a jazz cafe or something in London, and it was a Sunday evening night. It was really nice, and I dressed really, really nice. Maybe I may put, actually I won't put a picture, but I had this really nice dress on. I knew it was nice. He picked me up. I liked it. I think he may have opened the door to his car. I'm not sure. Probably not, actually. But it was nice. I enjoyed the drive. But he didn't say anything. No compliment. That's the other thing. He never really gave me compliments. I don't know, maybe like in text messages, but generally like not in person. But it's just like, you see someone make an effort. Even if you didn't think I looked nice to you, you could say, oh, wow, like, well done. Something like there must be something to say, guys. It must be. So I already thought, okay, you couldn't even say like anything. It's not like you brought flowers or anything. But again, that's okay, When we got to the cafe, the waiter, as soon as she came in, or came to our table, she was like, oh, you look you look really lovely. That's a nice dress. And I thought at that point that would kind of joggle his memory to say, oh, as in you look nice. Still didn't say anything. The date went all right-ish, but at that point I was over it. He paid as well. I think this time around there was no hesitation. At the end of the date, I was like, I still don't like this person. If I'm being completely honest, I just told myself, you know what? I think I sent a thank you message or something like that. And I didn't say anything else, but in my mind, I literally closed that door at that point. Now, the point of this video of how I knew it was not the one, there were many things. One, I found everything about him was, if I ended up dating him or being in a relationship with him, it would have been that I was settling because I didn't like him and I was really trying to like him, but it wasn't clicking and I was trying so hard. And I remember like one time I was praying, in my mind, I was not even praying about him and I was just asking God who my husband is, and I heard his name. I almost said his name. And I heard his name. So I was like, oh, this one's a God, this is what God is saying. But I had what I thought, I even wrote it down on my phone then. And then in reality, like, it didn't look like it. The things that I was saying, the way I felt about him wasn't really marrying up. And also at that point, he was beginning to like talk about like some doctrine that was getting into. It was still like supposed to be Christianity, but it was getting into some doctrine that I thought was like getting like dangerous places and things like, bringing up doctrines that shouldn't really be. And I was just like, okay, man, I don't understand like this Christianity, this kind of Christianity that you're beginning to profess. But again, I was just like, okay, maybe it's just a temporary thing. But I just thought that was also a red flag at this point. And that would have been a big deal. That definitely would have been a big deal. I just, sometimes like when people say, oh, God said you're my wife, or you yourself, you're thinking God said you're my husband, or you believe you've heard God, we need to be able to marry that with the scripture. So if God is saying that, or you believe that God is saying to you that this X person is your husband or your wife, but in reality, like, what you're seeing in their life, for instance, maybe they fornicate, they lie, they cheat, and they encourage you to do things like that, automatically you should know that's not God, because God will not go against his word. So whatever you think God is saying to you, you may think you've heard right, and maybe with it, like, sincerity of your heart or whatever, but just make sure that you're sure. And I'm not asking you to second guess everything that you think God is saying to you, but don't just take a prophet said to you that person is your wife, or a pastor said to you that person is your husband, so you're just going to run with it. Or maybe you had a dream that you think it was God that was saying to you in the dream that, God, it may very well be, but it may not be. So don't just like jump to take what you think God is saying as if it goes against every other thing that you can see. And I'm not saying just because God said everything will be easy. God could have said, and maybe it wasn't time, or maybe it doesn't marry, with some other things, or maybe, for instance, God could have said this person is your husband or wife, but maybe your families are not in agreement yet. It doesn't mean that because your families are not in agreement is wrong. All I'm saying is just, check everything. Check what you think is God. Ask for confirmations. Marriage is a big deal at the end of the day. So don't just because just because you had a dream does not mean it's God. Dreams come from diverse sources, from the things that we're thinking about, even things that are just like kind of not at the forefront of our mind, but somewhere at the back of our mind. It comes from the devil as well. And it also comes from God. Dreams also do come from God, but you need to check it, to be sure. Or even if it's just still small voice in your head, or however it is that God speaks to you, just be sure that that is really God, and whatever God is saying has to align with His scripture. So the fruits that you're seeing in that person needs to align with the scripture. Also, the other thing I realized is one of the reasons why I was really holding on to him was because I felt like, this kind of, like I said before, this kind of like the only egg in this basket. Like all the other people that are around me that like me, I don't like them, and there's no one else that is even seeming like it. So I was really trying hard to hold on to this and like, settle with this egg, that because there was no other eggs in the basket. And I know that that's the case for a lot of maybe ladies, especially, like, when you're thinking, or even like you could have even gone a step further and maybe you've even invested time, you've been in a relationship with this person, but you know that really you shouldn't be and you need to end it, but then you just want to hold on to it, like, and do the best of you just really want to do your best and hold on to it, and just like, all this time I've invested, you're trying so hard to make it right. But don't just because you don't have any other eggs in the basket doesn't mean you should hold on to a lifeless egg, okay? Or something that God has not proposed. So yeah, for me, that was really how I knew it was the things that were not marrying. I just knew that I was settling. It wasn't something it wasn't someone I was excited about, and I had given it time. So it wasn't just because I wasn't attracted to him on the first day. It was like I said, over 2 years. And I just knew after that day, like, this I have tried. I wasn't feeling it, and it wasn't happening, and I shut that door. And lo and behold, we met my husband literally like a couple of weeks after then when I went back to Nigeria on holiday. So I hope you've learned something from this, and I hope you enjoyed the story, but more importantly, I just hope you've learned from it. And if you have any questions, comments, anything I've said that maybe you don't agree with, or you agree, or something you want to buttress, or a question you want to ask, or a dilemma or a scenario that you're in at the moment and you want to reach out, I'll be more than happy to hear you. Please leave a comment or send me a DM on Instagram, or just get in touch with me some way or another. Thank you so much for watching my video. It was nice to have you. All right then, take care and goodbye.